So urinary bladder and the urethra. Now we come to the urethra. So first will be the male urethra. It is a longer one. So it is 18 to 20 centimeter long and extend from the internal urethral orifice in the bladder to external opening. That is the meatus. Okay. So it is having the two part mainly. So relatively the short posterior urethra, which is 4 centimeter long, lies in the pelvis proximal to the corpus spongiosum of the penis, and it is acted upon by the urogenital sphincter mechanism, also, and also acting as the conduit, right? Conduction of the urine. And the posterior urethra is consisting of the preprostatic segment, that is between urinary bladder and the prostate gland, prostatic segment traversing through the prostate gland, and the membranous segment between the um, prostate gland and entering into the corpus spongiosum. So among which this membranous segment is very vulnerable to injury. Okay, it is only supported by some external urethral sphincter. So it is not having great support as compared to other part of the urethra. So it is having the more length of the urethra, 60 centimeter within the perineum and penis. So it is surrounded by corpus spongiosum and is functionally a conduit. The anterior urethra, the bulbar urethra component, and the pendulous part. You can see here the parts of the male urethra. So most superior most is the urinary bladder. So from the lower aspect you can see the sagittal section. So surrounded by the prostate gland. The first part is the pre-prostatic urethra, then it enters into the prostate gland in the form of the prostatic urethra, and before entering into the part of the penis, it is between prostate gland and uh, the corpus spongiosum. That part is known as the membranous part. So you can see there is no greater support for the membranous part of the urethra. Okay, only the external urethral sphincter are covering that. So they are also soft, so it is more vulnerable for the injury, and then entering into the penile part. Okay, the same part of the urethra. So we see the preprostatic part. So it is surrounded by the proximal urethral sphincter mechanism, that is involuntary muscle, the smooth muscle bundle around the neck, and the preprostatic urethra, and they are arranged in a distinct circular collar, which is on having the adrenergic innervation, that is sympathetic supply, and the contraction of the preprostatic urethra serves to the prevent retrograde flow of the ejaculation through the proximal urethra into the bladder. The prostatic part very important. So it is having 3 to 4 centimeter in length, and throughout its length, the posterior wall is midline. It is having the urethral crest. The vertical reed is there, and on each side of the crest, having the depression known as the prostatic sinus, and the floor of which perforated by the 15 to 20 prostatic duct. So all their prostatic secretions are entering into the urethra through these prostatic ducts. And there is an elevation called the Veru montanum or collicus seminalis at above middle of the urethral crest, and it contains slit-like orifice of the prostatic utricle. On both sides of just within this orifice are two small openings for the ejaculatory duct. So membranous part, it is 1.5 centimeter, smallest of all and shortest and least dilatable, and is nervous, and the wall of the membranous urethra. So it is part of the external urethral sphincter. So it is having the urethral is smooth wall. The urethral striated muscle is more in number. and the pivourethral part of the levator ani. So this is important and reduce the surge of the intra-abdominal pressure. The anterior spongious part, it lies in the corpus spongiosum, 60 centimeter long, and the part of the anterior urethra which is surrounded by the bulbous spongious is also called the bulbar urethra. And from here, urethra curves downward and penile urethra. It narrows in a slit-like structure known as the meatus or the navicular fossa. The applied aspect of the urethra, the traumatic urethra is injured by the fall. Okay, so it can result into the injury of the penile urethra in the perineum, and extravasation of the urine can occur, and it can be prevented from going into the other part by posteriorly as the perineal membrane and the membranous layer of the superficial fascia are continuous with the fascia around the superficial transverse perineum. Laterally by the ischiopubic and pubic rami, and about to the lesser pelvis by intact perineal membrane. Okay, so extravasated urine goes anteriorly into the loose connective tissue of the scrotum and the penis, and then to the anterior abdominal wall. The arterial supply, the urethral artery and the dorsal penile artery, and innervation is by the great cavernous nerve are sympathetic and pre-prostatic sphincter during the ejaculation. The parasympathetic nerves are from second to fourth sacral segments and now supply to the skeletal muscle, that is voluntary muscle, is not known very well. So this is said to be the nerve of the own of nucleus situated in the second sacral segment of the spinal cord. Okay, and the fibers pass from the through the perineal branch of the pudendal nerve. So female urethra is only 4 centimeter long, 6 millimeter in diameter, and it begins at the internal urethral orifice of the bladder. Runs anteroinferiorly behind the symphysis pubic, embedded in the anterior wall of the vagina, and it crosses the perineal membrane and end at the external urethral orifice. The arterial supply is through the superior vesicle and vaginal arteries, and innervation is the parasympathetic preganglionic fibers from second to fourth sacral segment of spinal cord. And the somatic fibers from the same segment. Okay? And the splanchnic nerve are which are having the carrying the sensory fiber are reaching from second to fourth sacral segment. Means all are supplied by the second to fourth sacral segment, 2, 3, and 4. Now micturition, when the quantity of the urine exceeds 220 normal capacity of the this, the intravesical pressure is increasing. So micturition is initiated by following successive events. So first there is the relaxation of the perineal muscles, okay, escape the distal urethral sphincter and contraction of the abdominal muscles. Okay, because it is voluntary, it is in our control. So this is followed by the firm contraction of the detrusor muscle and relaxation of the proximal urethral sphincter. So contraction of the detrusor will be caused by the parasympathetic activity. Okay, and relaxation of the proximal urethral will be by the inhibition of the sympathetic activity. And at the last, the distal urethral sphincter mechanism relaxes. Okay, leading to the micturition. Development. So development is the cranial part and the largest part of the primitive urogenital sinus, which is known as the vesicourethral canal, forms most of the urinary bladder, that is allantois. Okay, so trigona bladder is formed from the other structure known as the absorption of the mesonephric duct. Means from it is derived from the mesodermal. So it is in the mesodermal in origin, the trigone, and the rest of the other part of the bladder are ectodermal or endodermal actually. Okay, because they are derived from the vesicourethral canal, the distal portion of the primitive urogenital sinus. So allantois is nothing but urogenital sinus. So here you can see The first point, the vesicourethral canal form anterior wall of the prostatic urethra above the opening of the prostatic artericle, and absorbed portion of the mesonephric duct, okay, that is mesodermal in origin, from the posterior wall of the prostatic urethra above the opening of the prostatic artericle. So definitive urogenital sinus formed by the endoderm. Okay, so it is endodermal in origin, except the trigone, to form the lower part of the prostate urethra and the membranous urethra. And the urethral plate or endoderm form most of the anterior part of the urethra, which are the ectodermal in origin. And surface epithelium of the glans penis and ectoderm form the terminal portion of penile urethra. The applied aspect, the catheterization of the bladder. So mostly we use the polished catheter or silicone catheter to catheterize the urinary bladder. Okay, so whenever there is a difficulty in urination, patient is admitted and the catheter is passed to release the pressure, intravesical pressure is reduced. So what happens? Sometimes it is difficult to pass the urinary catheter through the urethra due to some stricture or the fibrosis along the prostatic urethra. Okay. So in those cases, there is bladder is already full, so we can make the suprapubic hole. Okay. Puncture incision is taken and the catheter is passed from there into the urinary bladder directly. Okay, without penetrating the peritoneal cavity, because the full bladder is elevating the lifting the uh, peritoneal membrane above. Okay, so anterior surface of the full bladder is direct contact with the anterior abdominal wall without intervening peritoneum. So we can make puncture through that anterior abdominal wall and pass the catheter. So that is known as the suprapubic catheterization. So here you can see the normal catheterization, how it is catheter is passed through urethra and the bladder.